You did a deep dive, a deep read on that article, and the name Steven the last name could be King, the way that he penned this goodbye. Quite the author.
Wow. I was really, truly blown away. Obviously, he's a very cerebral hockey player, but, man, that boy could put pen to paper.
He certainly can, yeah. And you could tell this was obviously a weighing on him. It was a tough decision to make and whatnot, but penning his official goodbye and pulled a couple of excerpts from the article. And if you hadn't had a chance to read it, we certainly recommend you do that. But take a look at this. I think that the culture of hard work, of accountability, goes back years, and I hope it goes on long after me. After Marty left and I became captain, I really tried to take the things I learned from him and make them my own. Stamkos goes on to say, and as the years went on, I followed in the footsteps of so many of the great players I suited up with. Vinny, Gary Roberts, Ryan Malone, Mark Recchi, Brendan Morrow, Ryan McDonough, Ryan Callahan. I just tried to absorb as much as I could so I could be the type of leader Tampa Bay deserved. And it all came together in 2015. That skills, speed, work ethic, our swagger, it was all there. And you talked about playing against some of those guys that he mentioned in the article and what that experience was like for you.
Boy, he brought up Vinny and Marty and 04 Stanley Cup. The Islanders, we caught them the first round. The first thing that came to my mind, 2 words, relentless compete, excuse me. The way these guys worked, obviously they had a ton of skill. We knew they had a ton of skill. They got Habibou and Wall behind there. They got St. Louis, Richards. They got Vinny Lecavalier. But the thing that blew us away was the way they competed, the way they played the game. Their core was smart, solid, simple hockey. And I love the way that Steven Stamkos has talked about that. I truly respect the Tampa Bay Lightning so much for this organization. I got a chance to play with them. Got about 20 games there to see Stamkos, to see Marty, to see Vinny, finally be on that side instead of against him. And boy, was it a great feeling, let me tell you. But to see the way they operated from day to day in the locker room, there was so much intensity inside the players. The Marty and Vinny and the leaders had such a high expectation level for us all that Taka would come in times and he'd almost have to be the good guy.
Right.
We'd be on ourselves so much, and it's such a rare occasion. The only other time I saw that was when I was in Dallas, and that was the only team where that just, because of the organization that you were with, because of how they treated you, you felt absolutely obligated. And not necessarily, and I apologize to all you owners, but it was the guys, because of the people they had working for that team. It's the people behind the scenes are just amazing people. I love everything that Stammer said right there. I mean, isn't that exactly what you hope everyone says? Absolutely, as classy as can be. He's been an incredible leader. The names he rattled off right there, who he got to learn from, he'll be the first one to tell you. Obviously, pretty lucky to get in front of those guys and learn from those great hockey players. But you can't take away from what Steven has done. He's the Tampa Bay Lightning. He is the face of the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah. You talked about some of the people behind the scenes. How about the guy behind the bench, and John Cooper? And he went into detail and deep thought about what Cooper has meant to not only him, but also that organization and the success that he has brought to Tampa.
And what I love most about what he had to say about Cooper is it wasn't X's and O's. It wasn't systems. It wasn't much of that at all. He didn't even talk about it. It was all psychology. He brought in a belief. He brought in an attitude of, hey, this is a game, we're going to have fun, but here, this is our belief. We all got to get on board. We all got to pull this rope together. And that is exactly how the Tampa Bay Lightning were under John Tortorella.
Yeah.
So it is absolutely incredible the way that not only the players have kept up with this high level of play from the Tampa Bay Lightning, this high expectation level that they have in Tampa, but the coaches, everyone just follows suits. They're absolutely done the right way, and that is why so many NHL teams are just trying to pattern the way they do things the way Tampa did. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? You made the Stanley Cup final 3 consecutive years. You won it back-to-back years. And Stammer pointed out in that article, he goes, how cool is it to win back-to-back Stanley Cups within 1 calendar year? Less than 365 days. Unprecedented, something they can never take away from him.
No, absolutely not. Just win 2 Stanley Cups. I just want 1.
Yeah.
And 2 in the calendar year. And obviously that 1 shift, everyone will remember that shift. Absolutely incredible. This is a difference maker. I'm going to get 1 shift in the NHL playoffs here, the Stanley Cup final.
Make it count.
And I'm going to make that shout count. And the way, hearing him describe that too, and how much pain he was in as he was shooting that puck, you don't see it at all. I mean, that's how tough this kid is. He doesn't show an ounce of pain. He sticks with it. He goes through the battle. They win a Stanley Cup more or less without him, which is absolutely credible in the bubble. But then this. The next year, he finally gets to do it as it's dreamed up, in front of the home crowd. I mean, Steven Stamkos, he will be the first one to tell you how fortunate he is, because he has gone through so much in Tampa Bay. He has gotten so many. His career has just gone to another level. Whereas he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, he is the Tampa Bay Lightning. But for him to come in there with that pressure and come in and follow that pressure with Marty St. Louis and Vinny Lecavalier and the guys like Mike Smith, Teddy Purcell, Nate Thompson, Steve Downey, the guys that he's bringing up, this truly was, it was a core group of guys that all loved each other. It didn't matter. The skill guys didn't hang out. There was no cliques. There was nothing. It was all about being a brotherhood and winning and playing as a team.
Yeah, obviously leadership is something, but the way he produced, especially this past season, still putting up the points and the goals and whatnot, like vintage Steven Stamkos. But, of course, there is the business of sports, specifically in a salary cap era. And Stamkos goes on to talk about that as well. These past few weeks have been bittersweet. I never thought this day would come. I did everything I felt I could do to make it work, but sometimes things just happen. It didn't work, and I'd be lying if I said it wasn't heartbreaking, but my family and I, we're human, you know. Tampa is home. It's where our 3 kids were born. It's where our memories are. It's always going to mean so much to us. So hard to say goodbye, but you kind of had a feeling that it might happen, just the way that negotiations were going with GM Julien BriseBois and the captain Steven Stamkos, not hearing that the sides were close, and then we get to July 1, and then he puts on that Pred sweater for the first time, and you go, okay, this looks kind of weird, but that is the business of sports, right?
Very weird. Boy, does it ever look. But you're right. This is a trade-off. You know, the fans, we as players, every single one of us have a dream when we get into the game. We start with one team. We win a Stanley Cup with that team. We stay with that team our whole career. That's just not the way that works. Like you said, the business of hockey is a whole different game nowadays. And a lot of GMs kind of have money
Especially when you're good and you win cups like they did.
Exactly. And to have to continue that, you have to make hard decisions. And you've got a chance. You've got Steven Stamkos here, the leader of your franchise in just about every offensive category, the face of your franchise, the greatest player you've ever had. You've got to move on from him. If you want to stay competitive in this league, and you can't pay that much money necessarily. It was Tampa, since Tampa's in that situation with their players. They got Point, they got Kucherov, they got Hedman, they got Vasilevsky. They still got plenty of guys that they have to pay. They can only do so much in the salary cap era, and this is the hard decisions that they have to make. I guarantee you, this was not an easy decision by BriseBois whatsoever.
Right.
They contemplated it, I guess I would guarantee, for months and months, trying to figure out, one, how to keep him. Obviously, on a personal level, you got your captain, your Stanley Cup, everything. You want to keep him there for it. But bottom line, if you want to stay competitive in this league, you have to move on from older players and get younger.